blockchain. It's very pertinent. So like I said, one half of the project for me is lab work, but the other half is it's more theoretical. So I'm building a network, and when I say network, I mean it's like a diagram of the interactions between those three components of the melanoma cells, Langerhans cells, and the keratinocytes. So I'm literally just drawing pathways that I think might be linked and stuff. Anyways, the point is that to do that, I had to go through loads and loads and loads of research papers that already exist and sift through information that I thought might be relevant, and then transfer that to my model and kind of, if that makes sense. So one really important skill in research is knowing how to pick important research papers, the ones that have been peer reviewed, the ones that have been cited by many other institutions, because that means that they have quite a lot of weightage in the research world. So our courseworks prior to this have taught us a lot of kind of literature reviewing and going to the literature and picking what's important and what's not. That's a key skill. And also being able to skim read research papers that are like 20 pages long. It sounds daunting, but actually if you learn to kind of just hone in on what's important, it's not that bad. That's another thing that you'll inevitably learn that in a research degree. Then obviously there's a lot of data analysis tools. You need to know like sometimes it's programming, other times it's just being proficient in like Microsoft Excel and things that'll just make your life easier if you're trying to process a lot of data. That's really key. And now in my dissertation, we're using a lot of cool software like Prism, which is pretty advanced software that helps kind of not really analyze data, but kind of lay it out in a way that makes sense. So as you go through your research degree, most people will come across really cool kinds of software that make life, it seems daunting, but it actually makes life a lot easier if you're trying to like process and analyze data. And it goes above and beyond anything you will have learned in school. Another thing I would say, sorry,
go ahead. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead.
Another thing I would say is a key skill as well is being able to convey scientific, information in a way that's understandable to kind of a multitude of audiences, because no scientist is going to have to ever only talk to like other scientists. You're going to have to relay that information to other parties, other kinds of people. And it's important to know how to break it down so that people who are maybe scientifically literate but not experts in cancer research will be able to understand you. So we're taught that throughout our degree as well.
Fascinating. I think the idea of like gleaning through documents of research, finding what you're really looking for, using the tools, and then presenting it, learning data visualization techniques, all of this is fascinating.
Exactly.
So if you were to look at the next thing that you would focus on, say rare diseases, and are there any specific areas or rare diseases that you think sort of you'd be interested in continuation of the work that you've done with cancer research?
So one, I guess there are a couple of diseases. So diseases like cystic fibrosis.
COVID is obviously not a rare disease anymore.
It is not. And honestly, I'm done with COVID. Like I'm not going to be studying it. That's one thing I know for sure. But there was one assignment we were asked to do in year 2, which was to come up with a cure for a disease that doesn't really have any short like treatments. And so I picked cystic fibrosis, which is a pretty complex disease of the like mucus lining, and it's really quite complicated. But it was such a difficult assignment. It was so hard, but it was so fulfilling. Not that I like cure the disease whatsoever, but just going through the process of trying to just like theorize about possible areas you could target that other researchers haven't been able to do yet for whatever reason. That's what really fascinates me. So I think that I'm gonna probably move away from cancer altogether and go into like a disease like that. But the thing is that research from other rare diseases can also be relevant to cancer, because sometimes the same pathways are involved, the same cells are involved. Like what I'm doing in my dissertation, Langerhans cells, keratinocytes, the interactions will be relevant to other maybe like inflammatory diseases or whatever. So it's not like the results will only determine the fate of cancer, if they even do, but it can always be relevant to other diseases. So my hope is that if I go into diseases that I'm more interested in right now, that could maybe lend to like disease in a broader context and not just limited to what I'm researching, if that makes sense.
Fascinating. There's always this question with students who are looking at being medical practitioners, doctors, and or pursuing research like you are. I know you were at that crossroad 4 years ago, or perhaps when you were thinking of undergrad. Do you still find it fulfilling that you're kind of there helping alleviating human suffering through research and possibly breakthroughs in ways technology can be used or research can be used? At the same time, is there a connection with the medical community, doctors at large who are frontline, say, sort of workers, meeting people and connecting with patients or something? How do you see that happen?
Well, yes, for me, it's extremely fulfilling. Like, even just knowing, even though I'm only in my undergraduate degree and it's not like I'm saving lives or anything, but knowing that that's what I'm working towards is a huge thing for me. It's one of the main things that got me into, when I wanted to do medicine initially, was one of the main things that got me into the whole stream. It's this idea of combining my, I guess, love for science with for me, it's really important to be in a career that's actually fulfilling to me as a person. And I know a lot of people say this, but it really is true. Like, I need to, if I don't wake up every day and feel like I'm doing something that is of societal value, I don't know how I would motivate myself. It's a huge thing for me. And, some people just live their lives and do what makes them happy. And that's amazing for them as well. But I know I'm just not the kind of person who could, I think, go through life like that. So it's very, very fulfilling. I know that even if I'm never part of a team that makes an amazing breakthrough, like, just trying is enough for me. It really is. In terms of our interactions with, I guess, the medical community, so the thing that actually kind of steered me away from applied medicine to medical research was the realization that in medical practice, you're on the front lines, you're having that interaction with patients, and it's an incredibly noble and fulfilling career for sure. But for me, like, what I get that fulfillment out of is kind of delving into the theory and uncovering things and novel insights at a theoretical level. And it's not quite like that with applied medicine. So that's kind of what steered me away from that into this world.